Geno Auriemma. Caitlin Clark again. The world turns. It's Caitlin Clark's world. We just live on planet Caitlin.
Have you heard of Geno Auriemma's most significant error? How could Auriemma miss out on such a superstar? Well, it gets even stranger when you take a trip down memory lane. The legendary UConn coach passed on hiring Caitlin Clark, and now he's seeing his program's attendance drop, while Clark's drawing record crowds and rewriting the rules of women's basketball. UConn women's basketball was once the most popular sport in town, drawing large crowds to see players like Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, and Breanna Stewart. The team was energized by the electric atmosphere, which intimidated opponents and made every game feel like the center of women's college basketball. However, things started to change, and not in a good way. The crowd began to thin, the energy subsided, and those once-packed arenas began to appear deserted.
Paige Bueckers goes to the Bahamas, 500 people. And repeat, 500. 500 people.
Did you notice that the attendance at a recent UConn 11-time national champions game in the Bahamas was just 567? Even at home games, the number of spectators has decreased to about 4,000 to 6,000, which is hardly half of what it used to be.
They are playing in what looks to be, you can see there's a stage. Oh my God, they're not even playing on a in a basketball gym. They're literally playing in what looks to be an auditorium.
UConn's recent on-court difficulties are cited by the athletic department as the reason why fans aren't attending as they attempt to find a solution as teams like South Carolina and LSU have taken over.
And we hear so much about, Paige is bigger than Caitlin, Paige is going to be bigger than Caitlin. It's like, man, even last year, Caitlin Clark would have filled that up. Everyone who is even close to the Bahamas would have gone to that game. If you heard that you could see Caitlin Clark in a tiny, with only 500 people, you're like, oh my God, I was at the Bahamas game.
In contrast to UConn, which struggles to attract a few thousand fans on a good day, the Iowa Hawkeyes are packing arenas with 15,000 people at every game, even without Caitlin Clark. This isn't just about loyalty. It's evidence of Clark's enduring influence and legacy that continues to influence the program.
Of the week, doing all that talking online, but when it comes to the proof, it is in the pudding. When it comes to the numbers, when it comes to the black and the white, are you in the black or are you in the red? Are you showing up or are you bluffing?
What caused this drop? Some people attribute it to UConn's terrible on-court play, but there's more to the tale. Let's dissect it and find out what caused the decline.
And look, UConn have not won a game that they had any chance of losing this year.
Paige Bueckers is having a lot of trouble. She used to rule the court back in the day, but it seems like that is a long time ago. Her performance has completely collapsed. She isn't getting better, and her admirers are beginning to notice.
She was as good. It's been 4 years, and she was as good the day she touched down in UConn. I get it. There's been injuries, there's been other stuff, but it doesn't look like she's improved even a lot of skill wise. It doesn't look like she's improved strength wise since her freshman year. Her game is still her game, realistically, and she's just been less aggressive.
What is truly startling is how timid Bueckers has become on the court. She is hesitant to take shots and is squandering chances left and right. It's as though we are witnessing a totally different player. The aggressive take-charge attitude that we once witnessed has vanished, and UConn's game is bearing the consequences.
All Paige Bueckers does is backcut. That's her whole role in the offense, is to just cut backdoor. And it's just kind of frustrating to watch a lot of the time, just as a fan basketball-wise. But sure, look, it is what it is.
Fans are showing up expecting the UConn magic, but all they're getting is disappointment. You might be thinking, surely it's not just Bueckers, right? And you'd be right. The entire team seems to be in a funk. The energy is gone, the execution is sloppy, and it's like watching a completely different program.
But Ice Brady has just not been good this year. Ice Brady's somebody who just can't seem to lose her starting spot. I don't know why. She's been very poor this year.
When former players and experts begin to criticize the program, blaming the coaching methods and player development for being subpar or losing his touch since the game has passed him by, you know something is wrong.
And I think like you have to blame Geno Auriemma to an extent. Like, look, his rotations have been horrific. His development of players has not been good. And Geno, post Stewie, has not had a great track record with developing players.
To exacerbate the situation, Geno has been benching important players like KK Arnold. Her mother even turned to Twitter to vent her annoyance and criticize Geno for consistently ignoring her daughter.
Did not see it. KK Arnold's mom is on Twitter, literally retweeting anti-Geno Auriemma posts. Like, she is retweeting basically anti-Geno posts, which is not good.
Let's be honest. One of the biggest ifs in college basketball history may have resulted from Geno Auriemma's choice to pass on Caitlin Clark. Can you believe that the player he didn't consider UConn material is now dominating the basketball world? The narrative of Clark's ascent to fame is truly one for a movie.
And that's the difference, is the reality of the situation. It really hits when you see they're like, oh, the fans need to spend more money. The reality is fans need to spend money the way they want to spend money. If a fan wants to see a player, they can see a player. Like, it's not the fault of a fan of Juju Watkins who doesn't want to pay to see her play. It's not the fault of a fan of Paige Bueckers who doesn't want to pay to see her play. Just because fans of Caitlin Clark will pay to see her play. Like, that's the reality of the situation. Is it's nothing to, there's never blame the consumer or the viewer for what they like. And that's the problem, again, with all this WNBA media.
Imagine a high school phenom with a long three-point shooting range, amazing court vision, and a fantastic goal. Caitlin Clark was the instinct. Elite schools like Notre Dame, Oregon, and Iowa were vying for her attention, but UConn was nowhere to be found. You may be wondering why Geno didn't pursue her, but here's the real deal. According to reports, he believed that her reckless behavior wouldn't mesh with UConn's system of discipline and that he already had Paige Bueckers on the roster. But wow, was that a mistake?
Wants to know, if Caitlin Clark played for Geno, would he let her shoot logo threes?
Should I answer that?
Go ahead.
Hell no.
Okay.
Like, he didn't even let us dribble. Like, not thigh passes to the side. We were playing triangle, pass, screen away, pinch post.
I bet we came off 5-5.
When Clark ultimately decided on Iowa, she didn't just fit in, she revolutionized the program. By her junior year, she was guiding Iowa to the Final Four and shattering records everywhere. Her daring play style, those deep threes and no-look passes, made Iowa games into must-watch opportunities.
I know that Geno and UConn passed on Caitlin Clark, and I think that that was like the biggest blessing in disguise for her, because I think, say Caitlin Clark went to UConn or went to one of these bigger powerhouse schools, South Carolina, one of those, I'm not sure. I would almost bet money that we wouldn't have this thing happen.
However, this is where things started to get interesting. When Clark's supremacy peaked in the 2024 NCAA Final Four, guess who she faced? UConn. And what transpired by symbolically handing the torch and demonstrating to Geno what he had missed. Clark led Iowa to victory.
Geno Auriemma. Caitlin Clark again. The world turns. It's Caitlin Clark's world. We just live on planet Caitlin.
This choice not only changed UConn's story, but it also demonstrated to everyone how tough and tenacious Clark is. She disproved everyone's doubts, including one of the game's most illustrious coaches. UConn fans are left wondering what would have happened if Geno had selected Caitlin Clark instead of Iowa black and gold. It's a sobering reminder that one choice can alter the course of sports. When Caitlin Clark was chosen first overall by the Indiana Fever, Geno Auriemma didn't hold back and asked if she was prepared for the physicality of the WNBA, implying that she might not be cut out for its demanding style of play. Instead, UConn watches as other programs flourish, with Clark leading the way in her style and connection to fans.
Handling great. I think she talks a lot of and she gets a lot of back. So she deserves everything she gets because she gives it as good as she gets. She's just not built for the physicality of this league. Yeah, and she's not quick enough to get away from the physicality.
However, Auriemma didn't stop there. He also attacked the fans of the Fever, accusing them of not knowing about the WNBA. His comments caused a flurry of indignation, escalating the already contentious discussion around Clark's transition to professional basketball.
If you're a college player and you're a great college player, like Caitlin was, the delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP of the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad.
Auriemma's misgivings weren't unique. His former top player Diana Taurasi weighed in and predicted that Clark would have a difficult time adjusting to the WNBA. She said the league's intensity would present a completely new challenge for Clark, and she might not be able to dominate the way she did in college.
Look, SVP, reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it. You look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time.
Guess what? Caitlin Clark disproved their assumptions. She didn't merely live up to them. She beyond them. It got even stranger when Clark began to dominate in college and prove everyone wrong. Auriemma did a total 180, and now he's calling her a generational talent and a game changer. Talk about eating your words. Clark broke records, set new viewership highs, and finished her debut season by winning the prestigious Rookie of the Year title.
I think one of the things that makes Caitlin Clark, who she is the way she is with people. She connects with people, and people connect with her.
While Geno Auriemma wasn't exactly praising Caitlin Clark for her dominance in college basketball, he plainly stated that she wasn't cut out for the WNBA. He was skeptical that her high-risk, high-reward approach would work at the next level, but wow, how those remarks came back to haunt him.
You never know how quickly they're going to adapt to the WNBA game coming from college. And I think that Caitlin has done surprisingly well, how quickly she's adapted to this game.
Geno Auriemma is singing a whole different song today, and he's now saying things like these.
The college career that Caitlin had ignited a tremendous amount of attention, an incredible phenomenon that very rarely happens, and it certainly changed the landscape, no question.
Did Geno experience a basketball epiphany? If so, this is where things start to get interesting. Geno's mindset has changed significantly, and it appears to be related to his most recent business endeavor. Geno is now more than just a coach. He plays in a brand new 3-on-3 league called Unrivaled. And you know who they wanted as their top player? Caitlin Clark, you're right.
There's a lot of investors in this league. One investor, been trying to keep quiet about, his investment in the league ever since his comments that he made about a young rookie. Pretty much, had him in the headlines for about a month and a half. That is Geno Auriemma, dog. I'm here to tell you, he's part owner of this league.
We're not arguing that Geno's recent admiration for Caitlin Clark isn't sincere. Perhaps he has changed his mind after seeing her rule the WNBA, but you have to acknowledge that the timing couldn't be more ideal. Unrivaled offered Clark a contract worth over $1 million to play during the offseason, which is a substantial sum for some off-season work. But here's the twist. Clark declined, saying that she would want to concentrate on rest and rehabilitation. Can you picture how it went? According to insiders, Geno was obviously unhappy to hear the news because, after all, Clark wasn't just an unmatched. She was the player they had wagered on to draw in the crowd and keep everyone's eyes on the television.
He has decided not to do Unrivaled, even though Aaliyah Boston's doing it, Lexi Hull is doing it, Kate Martin is doing it, and despite all the rumors, and I'm sure the push that was put on her. But Clark has all the leverage in this situation, and I'm not saying she flexed it, but she was comfortable enough in her position to make the decision, and it appears that answer is no.
Given how far he's come from questioning Clark's abilities to practically pleading with her to follow his lead, Geno and Unrivaled are left reeling as their dream of starting a league with Clark as the headline attraction collapses. In the meantime, Caitlin Clark is rewriting the rules for women's collegiate basketball. The game is changing in unexpected ways, and UConn isn't the only name in it anymore. We're seeing a massive shift as even the biggest names in the sport are fighting to stay. Applause up. Teams like LSU and South Carolina are becoming more well-known, packing arenas and making headlines. But here's the catch. Powerhouse programs are losing ground to individual stars, and it's no longer simply about whose team wins. People are swarming to see UConn and players like Caitlin Clark fire up the court. What about Paige Bueckers? Wasn't she meant to be Caitlin Clark's replacement? Although Bueckers is clearly brilliant, she hasn't nearly generated the same kind of enthusiasm or attracted the same size audiences as Clark at Iowa. Geno and his group are currently up against a difficult obstacle as women's basketball continues to evolve.
There is absolutely no way. There is no way at all that Paige Bueckers is going to come to the WNBA and be able to do what Caitlin Clark did straight away. Like, what Caitlin Clark did as a rookie, we're probably not going to see anytime soon. And for people being like, oh, there's going to be the next Caitlin Clark, Juju and Paige better. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Women's college basketball is set to enter a new era where individual stars will be the main draw. It's not just about the team's success anymore. It's about putting on a show that spectators won't be able to ignore. The programs that adjust to this new reality will prosper.
Look at this right here. National broadcast viewership. What are we talking about here? 1,000, what is that? 1.219? Is that the number? And the game afterwards got 485,000 views. So the Fever and their game against the Minnesota Lynx was 1.219 million on Ion. On Ion!
UConn's legacy was based on discipline and collaboration, but in this dynamic game, gamers are yearning for the thrill and surprise that top players like Caitlin Clark can provide. As we watch the game develop, it's evident that the era of star-driven basketball is here to stay. The question is who will embrace this change and who will be left behind. UConn should keep up with the changing landscape. The focus of women's basketball is shifting from traditional powerhouse programs to the allure of individual talent.
Which Iowa beat LSU to go to the Final Four was watched by more than 12 million viewers on ESPN, making it the most watched women's college basketball game ever.
That's right, Jeff. In fact, it was the most watched college basketball game ever on the cable channel, men's or women's.
Consider how different things would have been if Caitlin Clark had been wearing UConn blue while breaking records and packing arenas. Geno Auriemma's decision to pass on Clark may go down as one of the biggest what-ifs in basketball history. UConn finds himself unsure of how to catch up.